industry experts are going to discuss how the subscription model can inspire innovation in stagnant industries. Here to introduce our panel, I would like to introduce the CEO and founder of DomainzGuru, Mr. Thomson Thomas, and the panel. Let's welcome them, shall we?
Hello, everybody. Like you said, my name is Thomson Thomas, and I'm the CEO and founder of DomainzGuru. I'll quickly go ahead and introduce my team here on the panel. So we have Spencer Lowe, who's the owner of Salt Consulting, and Abid Shah, who's the co-founder and president of Cryptech Labs. Roger Furman, independent sales and marketing consultant, and then we have Eric Wasset. He's the partner and senior vice president at Acuna Consulting. And then we have Kyle Nicolazzi. He's the director of security integrations. So, a lot of questions here. Okay, so we start with the first topic, and that's going to be, what are the reasons for the rise of subscription model?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in and start with that. I think ultimately, especially in the context of this discussion around stagnant industries, the number one reason is growth. Companies that leverage a subscription model outpace the S&P 500 in growth by 9 times. And so that's the primary reason, I think, financially, as companies are looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, why should I move to a subscription model? There's huge financial and growth incentives. The second big piece is the cultural shift that comes with that, moving away from a product-centric environment where you're focused on features and those are being distributed through channels where you're maybe obfuscating the relationship with the customer. You don't understand the customer as well because there's that layer of separation. In the subscription environment, we're seeing much better feedback from the customer and a cultural shift around experiences, the customer experience, providing value to them, as opposed to needing to have ownership over just a product. So I think that's probably the biggest reason in my mind that we're seeing more and more companies move there.
Yeah, and I'll add to it as well. Part of it is the customer experience too. You can engage more with your customers to learn more about the challenges they have, the challenges they have now, but also in the future. By doing that, it helps with product development, more customer interaction, and just overall provides a great service.
I think to kind of reiterate on some of the points mentioned over here is we're seeing our customers and users no longer interested in quote-unquote owning something, right? I think besides owning your house, not many other things have as much value in terms of ownership, right? Folks and individuals and customers and users and consumers are interested in accessing value, right? And if you see the challenge when you own something, right? I'm pretty sure we all bought something in the past, and 3 months later we're seeing, oh man, the next version came out, but I've already spent $300, $400 on the first version. Am I going to really spend another $300, $400 on the next version? So I would rather spend a consistent amount of money every single month, a low fee, and the benefit of that is I'm going to have access to value over time. As that value increases and gets better, I have access to it. I think number two, we're seeing over here is just, I think the point I mentioned in point number one. I think consumers and users are interested in spending less at once, right? I think psychologically, just you take a look, $300 versus $15 a month. Which one makes more sense? And I think lastly, we're seeing that we're moving away. It's not about customer acquisition anymore. It's about customer retention, right? How do we retain customers? And I think with the subscription model, what we're able to get out of this is businesses are able to understand, as Sean was talking about, hey, you know what, we understand what users want. We understand the culture of users, right? And what we're doing now is we are shifting and we make changes as the culture and the market changes. So I think by doing that, we understand our users better and we're making those changes to ultimately retain them over a longer period of time.
Just to throw my weight behind, everybody else on this panel is just absolutely fantastic. We've been working together over the last couple of days. sincerely humbled to be sitting up here with a bunch of experts. And just to throw my weight behind what everyone has said so far, the customer experience absolutely matters. There's got to be some cost savings there as well. And I think one of the primary drivers that we're also looking at is agility. Inside your particular industry or your market space, if you're doing the same things everybody else is doing, you're going to get those same results. So having that ability to shift focus absolutely quickly, do it in a cost-effective way, and spin out a new way to do something, I think is fundamental to the drive behind the subscription model. Like the fellow panelists are saying, it's no longer about owning the asset, it's about having access to the asset to create your own value.
And just to tag on that, when you have a product you've sold and deployed, it's so much more difficult to do that because you have to get them to reinstall, you update their software. That's an arduous process versus increasingly, whether that's in the cloud or just in general, the structure of a subscription that allows you to change it midway. You don't have to put that extra burden on the customer.
Absolutely. I think it's fundamental to driving it, and that's why I think we're seeing such a big adoption across, pick an industry, any industry, and you've got access to resources on a subscription-based model.
We have Kyle also give his views on it before I go jump in.
I'm part of the security integration department at a hardware company. We specialize in automating access control, security equipment, and integrating them all to play nicely with each other. So as they were mentioning, everyone is tending to move away from the antiquated typical systems panels at the property. Due to the cost, actually, the return on investment they're encountering over the course of, say, 3 years when they're ready to upgrade. It's a complete upgrade, a whole new system. They're not able to do further upgrades. So with a cloud solution, the benefit to that for end users, commercial end users, would be we're managing all the firmware, we're ensuring that they're currently up to date, staying up to date, and they have the latest and greatest technology and software at their premises.
So, like everybody rightly said on the panel, in today's day, it's more about customer experience. I feel we've reached a point that gone are the days that the customer says, you've given me something, and I know how to use it, and I don't care. Now it's about we kind of giving them results on what our subscription-based model is. So we kind of tell them that, hey, it's not about just you using the service, we kind of give you results after what you're using our product for. So I feel that that's a huge thing that has come, and we've been able to see from the time that subscription model has come into picture. Moving to the next topic is what are the key aspects and considerations of leveraging subscription-based service?
Yeah, I'll take that one on here. And I think, a lot of the points that I mentioned in kind of the first point that we talked about, where you need agility, you need cost savings, there needs to be some kind of innovation, and you need to be adding some kind of value. I know from personal experience, our firm, it is dedicated to delivering bottom line results to our clients. And so what that allows us to do is be innovative as possible inside to generate those results. And we heavily leverage, subscription-based services that allow us to do that. So whether it's AI, machine learning, generative adversarial networks, it's about having access to the resources without fully committing yourself to a point where you're owning it. Because where's that technology going to be going? And forget from a technology standpoint, from a legislative standpoint. You have legal restrictions coming in as we're into some nascent technologies that are fundamentally challenging the way that we approach the marketplace and the market reacts to you. So, some of the key aspects that you should be looking for in a subscription service is, does it actually add value or allow you to add value for your client? And if the answer is no, then I think you need to take a look and see, what is the driving force behind why you want to go subscription? Is it because everybody is and you don't have a structured and formal plan to go that way? So I think, it usually starts with cost savings. It's typically cheaper to kind of rent space than it is to own it, especially if it's not going to be a 10 to 15 year investment. But fundamentally, if you're using a subscription service, you have to find a way to add value. If you are a service provider, you're providing that value. And if it's a B2B model, if you're the consumer in that model, you need to find a way to generate that value for your end users, because the service is something you're paying for, but it's not something that you've kind of dedicated for the next 15, 20 years.
Yeah, one of the companies that I worked with that was going through this transition, in definitely, I would say, a stagnant industry. They are in software, but their software serves a very stagnant industry. Industries where they're still receiving faxes, for orders from many of their clients. And so, as they sort of approached that transition, the first element was sort of bravery in terms of leadership. There has to be a strong vision for leadership as to why it's happening, because it's going to get harder before it gets better. They are riding the cash cow, in this case, of perpetual licenses. They're selling licenses to their software that's accounting for 80+% of their revenue. And it's a $400+ million company. So that's not a trivial amount of money to walk away from or pivot away from when their SaaS business that was nascent only had, if I recall correctly, somewhere around, I think, 5% of the revenue. And so it just didn't, just saying, hey, we're going to do subscriptions, our whole business falls apart. It's that they can feel that way in these stagnant industries. And so I think as you're approaching this, you have to have a clear vision, one, for that transition culturally, starting with people, understanding people are scared. I watched it firsthand in multiple companies, but in this example, people thought they were going to lose their jobs. People were worried about, what does this mean for the direction of the company? Because all I do today is generate license keys that I will have to generate in the future. So there's definitely the people aspect of conquering that fear, and as a leader, having a strong vision for how everyone fits into the new structure. And then the transition plan, in terms of processes, people hyper-simplify the processes with a lack of understanding of how, for example, maybe today sales operates rogue, and you get these big boosts at the end of each quarter and at the end of the year that bring all these licenses in. And that's very different when the vast majority of your revenue shifts to renewal revenue. And you're now, your sales organization is really only that new business. So you can't just do that. It's not a sales change. It's not, you got to have product development in the room. What does this mean for how we build and deliver our products? You have to have legal in the room. What has to be in the contract language initially so that we're allowed to re-up their contract later and have a higher renewal rate? You have to have your sales ops teams, your finance team, revenue recognition all changes. So there's so much to consider. So you can't hyper simplify the processes and the cross-functional nature of those processes. I think that it starts there. The people goes into those processes, and then the last is the tools. Most of these companies will go talk to Salesforce, they'll go talk to NetSuite, they'll go talk to something. They'll say, "Oh, great, here's a tool that's going to help us drive automated renewals." And you're so far, you've missed all of this first piece, and then they have to back their way into what are our processes going to be, and what do people even, are they on board, or are they all scared?
And I think that kind of comes back, circling it around to the customer experience that we were all talking about earlier, because the employees inside your organization that are creating these processes and the ones that are interacting with the clients, if you're providing a subscription-based model where you're shifting from a license to a monthly service or something like that, you're kind of giving power into the hands of your clients to say, you know what, I don't like this service anymore, and so I'm going to leave. So if your processes aren't locked in tight, and you're not, if you're going automated customer renewals, no, you got to turn that around. There needs to be a human element there. Whether that's a perceived human element or a real human that's interacting with this person, you want that business. So, moving to a subscription model, I think also kind of drives hunger in your clients and in yourself. That business is no longer there for a year, minimum. They're not committing to a phone system for 15 years to advertise it. You're jumping on a 5-9 type of thing, and it's a monthly service contract, and if it's not working for you, okay, you got to work through the migration process, but fundamentally, if it's not working for you, you don't like the people you're interacting with, it's game over. It's not fun.
I think I have a valid point.
I guess one last point I want to just kind of bring over here is really having a vision and understanding, okay, what's the minimal viable product that we can put out there immediately, right? That's going to actually have some sort of value, right? Obviously, our hope is that we're going to retain our customers over time, and we're going to have value. We're going to continue to add value, maybe monthly or bi-monthly. We're going to continuously deliver, deploy new functionality for our users that actually have value, but we don't want to wait too long, right? Because at that point, many others may have joined the market and we're now late to join the party, right? So what's the minimal viable product that actually delivers value to our end users that we can put out there now, that obviously over time create value streams, map out value streams to really understand what values we can add as we move on. So I think just in the beginning, what's the minimum, and then over time, what value are we going to add that our users can consume.
And I'll add one last thing too, is that value is not going it's always asking, what can I do today? It's going to change tomorrow. So you have to stay visionary ahead, and again, to get that customer friction or interaction with your customers, you have a better understanding of where this development should go.
I think just to add to this, the best model that we could talk about is Salesforce. Salesforce initially started on a different model altogether, and today they're working on a different subscription model, and they kept on adding so many values to the product that they're selling today. So just because we had somebody who's partnered with Salesforce, I thought that was the best topic that I could talk about.
Yeah, they nailed it. And watching them do that, it's incredible. The whole organization's built around it. And then when you're either a legacy player or you're in one of these stagnant industries, it's easy to look at that and say, okay, great, we're just going to do that. But it's never that simple. They were thoughtful about every aspect of how they built their organization, their processes, etc. And so it is an absolutely great one.
So let's go ahead and talk more about what are the challenges that business leaders need to be aware about when it comes to the subscription-based model. I think we should also talk about that one.
Sure, I guess I'll start over here with that one. I think there are many challenges, many things to take into consideration, and challenges you may come across. Number one is customer management, right? You're going to have tons of customers. How do you organize them internally, right? And you're not just going to have many customers, but customers in different tiers, right? Because typically in subscription models, you have different tiers, different types of memberships that you could possibly obtain. That's number one. Number two is security, right? Now it's not just a one-time fee and you're gone, right? So you're going to have the user's data for months, maybe years, right? How do we ensure that we have security behind this and we don't have any data breaches? Number three is a pricing plan, right? There's going to be definitely multiple tiers and memberships, as we just talked about. What is the pricing plan for each one? Which ones make sense, right? And on top of that, obviously, if we're moving from selling products to now a subscription model, how do we ensure that we don't price ourselves out, right? How do we make sure that we're actually profitable at the same time, keeping it low cost for our users? And the last one is tracking usage and getting feedback, right? I think really getting an understanding, do we have the systems and tools in place to understand what our users are actually using? To really understand what value, what are our users find the most valuable? And lastly is, okay, do we have any ways to engage them, right? Do we have any ways to engage them to understand and gain feedback from them? Something I think, as we talked about, is extremely important. And I think typically what we'll see sometimes in many organizations, especially agile organizations that are adopting agile, is they'll have a DevOps pipeline where they'll continuously integrate and continuously deploy and deliver and release on demand, and but they're not continuously exploring, right? And that part of the DevOps pipeline is missing, which is going to enable and allow organizations to gain data and analytics. Okay, users are using this and we're not using this. Okay, well, what do we do? How do we change our MVP? What changes do we make? What features do we add? Right. So I think it's extremely important that organizations, constantly are exploring and have, members of the organization that are constantly trying to understand the users and their experiences, and from there figure out, okay, how can we add to our roadmap to add more value?
Yeah, and I'll add back to the customer experience team, or the CX team as most people refer to it. It's making sure you're investing in employees that are going to be dealing with your customers, because if you look at the cost of acquiring a customer, so you go to a conference such as here, you meet some people, you get a business card, you market them, you email them, you do all this stuff, and once they become a customer, you can't walk away. So you have to make sure that people that are dealing with the customers understand their issues, their pain points, have a great experience every time they talk to them, every time they email them, whatever the communication may be. And then take it to the next levels, you need to retain those people, because if I'm dealing with a software as a service organization and I call my rep and they're not there, 2 months later the next one's not there, you begin to worry about the organization itself. So I think making sure that you take the time and personal investment into your employees to make sure that you're developing their skill set for active listening, some of the basic things to retain that customer. The longer they're with you, the more profit you make on that.
I would say that that's across departments, the skill set changes. If you're shifting to value-based pricing, so that's one of the things Salesforce really explored hard, was value-based pricing, and that's what Marie just hit on. To do that, your PMM team may not even be familiar with it. Their pricing strategy in the past may have been, their experience may not be one. Same thing with the customer success department. If in the past customer success constitute technical support? Do you even have people on that staff to handle those? You can fundamentally need to change the structure of the organization, and maybe even put people in new places. Take people from the sales organization, put them in that CX organization, and it's just transformative.
Just kind of to add on to that, I think, as kind of an umbrella term or strategy, I think, to sum up what Rita said and what Roger and Spencer are saying, as a business leader, I think there needs to be a very clearly defined vision for where you want to take your subscription model. And if you don't have those pieces in place, and that comes down to the processes, the people, internal, external, and everything that goes along with it, and then being able to communicate that out to your staff, getting them to buy into it, so you don't end up with a bunch of people that are worried about losing their job, and all of a sudden now you're with license fees or what have you, sabotaging yourself, and you've got the right people interacting with your customers, and they've got the right tools after they've got the processes down. I think at that point, you've got a viable model that you've built for yourself, you've got your people bought into it, and now it's a matter of deriving value and creating value on a recurring basis, on a growth basis for your clients, so that your customer retention at that point isn't so much about, well, the service is this, that, or the other. Well, you've got a lot of other supporting pieces. Your frontline staff, for example, might be the best to deal with. There's a company based out of Vancouver called Rackforce, and their whole thing is fanatical support. That is it. 2 words, fanatical support. At any time you interact with them, that's exactly what you get. That's a great way to go about it. I mean, I know for us, we've used them in the past, and the service offering might be a little bit more expensive than other people, but what they're giving you is a frictionless experience, in essence. And I think having that vision about this is how we want to approach the marketplace, and these are the values that we're going to create for them through our offering, I think is fundamental to understanding what your next steps are going to be as you're moving to a subscription model.
That's a valid point. Moving to the next discussion that we should have is about, is subscription-based service right for every industry? What do you guys think?
I'll start on that.
Okay, you know what, I think we will kind of really interact with the audience over here right now. So out of all the people out here, how many people do have any sort of subscription service? Let it be Amazon or let it be any sort of service. So I think the numbers kind of speak it all. It's kind of every industry right now is getting into they're planning or they're getting into subscription-based service. Like we were looking at, a while ago we were actually discussing about the author about the subscribed writer, Sensi. Right. So there's a founder and also an author of this book called Subscribe. He kind of really said that all the industries are going to be in future in the subscription model itself. So that kind of really rightly said that every industry is going to be a part of the subscription model.
Yeah, and I think if you're here today and you're thinking to yourself, we're exempt, we don't need to be thinking about this, you're just flat out wrong. And more than likely, you don't understand your customer. And what that comes down to is you've operated in an environment, or companies have operated in an environment where their customers may be a distributor, their customer is Walmart, their customer is XYZ reseller. And that has worked for them for so long that they start to believe they don't actually understand in a context where products no longer matter and experiences are all you're selling, the experience that your customer has. You are now interacting with people using your software, using your products. And you look at something like Peloton, right? They disrupted fitness because they didn't look at it and say, we're just going to resell fitness equipment. They found a way to say, we're going to sell a service, and by the way, you happen to have our product. Apple increasingly is, we sell you services, and by the way, you happen to have our products. And people are happy to pay for premium products in the context of, you understand what I need to get out of it. I don't need to get out of the satisfaction of having a bike in my basement, in my workout room. I need to get healthier. And doing that is a lot easier with online classes and a community that I work out with. And so Peloton is exploding because of that. Brava is doing that in the food space. There's companies that are doing this all over the place where if you think that you don't need to do it, you probably are in an environment where you don't know who your customer is, and you think your customer is someone who's actually just an intermediary.
Also to add up to this point, back in 2011, the subscription-based model was a $57 million revenue industry. In 2016, it went up to shot up to 2.6 billion, and now we are in 2019. It's just going up. So this kind of really also shows that every industry needs to get into subscription model. It's just that a lot of industries still do not want to accept the fact that subscription-based model is for them, but the sooner they adapt to it, the sooner they will be able to make more revenue.
Yeah, to add to that too, if you think about it, needs to be easy to use, easy to implement. Software as a service, you basically just have access to the cloud, you download whatever, and away you go. Actually, there is no download, you just actively work through their interface. But when you have a pain point, or your customers have pain, they're not going to go, oh, let's get to it in 3 months. They want to do it now. So that's the other benefit, is you can get this up and going pretty quickly, and you can still continue to train them and have a positive experience with it. But they need something that's quick and easy to deal with.
Yeah, one point I wanted to add was just that I guess the other reason you might be thinking it doesn't apply to you is if you operate in an environment where you're not focused on the experience. So one of those aspects is not understanding your customers. The other aspect is not understanding the experience they have. I would say, I think we're talking about subscription models. This is not a pricing discussion as much as it is a cultural discussion about customer being at the center and experience versus product and product development being at the center. So I think if you haven't made that transition yet, then the money side, I would hate for someone to misinterpret our conversation and think we just want people to change how they charge their customers. This is not about how you charge your customers. It's about their experience.
I guess one last thing I want to do over here, just to kind of get the audience and everyone here involved, is there's a question asked: who here has an Amazon, a Netflix, a Hulu, or even an 8 Hulu box? Could you put your hands up? Excellent. Or has a subscription model. If you have any subscription model, could you put your hands up high? All right? Excellent. Right? Now what I want you guys to do, keep your hands up and try to extend it even higher. As high as you can. Hurts a little bit, right? So that's exactly what those companies that have been moving to a subscription model have been doing, right? In 1955, the Fortune 100 companies, the majority of them are no longer Fortune 100 companies in 2019. But IBM and GE are. Why? Because they want the extra mile, and because they don't want to be left behind. They want the extra mile. They took the extra effort to move from just products to services and experiences, right? So if you don't want to be left behind, and if you want to ride the wave, and you have to go the extra mile and put the extra effort in there to be part of the new business model and new culture we're seeing here of being subscribed.
And one thing I like to add to this too is a lot of the obstacles you face when you're trying to introduce this concept to a new customer and the advantages of it. When they kind of get sticker shock when you show them, but they don't quite understand. You have to explain in detail everything that's included. So what I mean by that is everything that's included with the subscription service. It's the return on investment at the end of the line with the customer. They're going to save money by the amount of staff that they currently have on site. So for example, with our technology, we do artificial intelligence mixed with radar technologies on cameras, access. So big companies like Facebook, Google, they have security staff, security officers that are monitoring these video walls, monitoring these systems. Humans make errors, it's proven. So what's happening is by showing them, and Google and Facebook are great examples of this, they've already moved everything to the cloud. So it's a software as a system as a service. They're hosted either on Azure is one of the platforms, or we actually have a data center at our corporate headquarters as well. So main keys to this is, for our industry, for example, this is very new in the security industry, going up to the cloud versus having a legacy system right on at the property. So they're not understanding quite. That's one of my big obstacles when we're out there explaining why customers should be switching and from their legacy system that they're not paying anything monthly, but maybe a monitoring fee or some service fees, to something that's 5 times the amount. So it's not necessarily we're charging them this much more money, but the value added services they're getting alongside that is going to greatly outweigh the investment monthly that they're paying in the long run. The amount of savings that you're going to be able to identify within your corporation. But then going back to where it's sabotaging the employees doing that. So when they see this, that's a lot of pushback, and especially if you're dealing with department leads, for example, security officers, security leads, they're going to be very pushing back on the whole concept. They see their job potentially getting eliminated, which is unfortunate to say. It's happening quite frequently. The security market is fully going up to the cloud. There's lots of manufacturers like LS2 is one of our dealers that we push the most. That is a fully cloud-based solution. So as you guys might think of security or even traditional legacy systems, you have software that you would install on your PCs, every PC, to access all of those components. When you're in the cloud, everything's accessed through a browser anywhere in the world. You can manage these systems or your property completely remotely. So there's lots of advantages from a management standpoint. You don't have to be on site, especially large corporations that have multiple facilities. They're able to manage all the systems from one central location instead of having security officers or security management at every single building.
Yeah, I'll add to that too, sorry. One of the interesting things back in the early 2000s when I started working with an organization going through software as a service, of course you need IT to be involved with that. Back in the day, that was a huge fight. For that reason alone, I'm going to lose my job, I need this. With the last company I've been with for 8 years, it was amazing because every time we solicited the software as a service, IT's first question was, please tell me it's software as a service. It's nothing I have to install. They actually embrace it. They welcome it. It makes their jobs easier, less things that they have to manage, which makes it a lot easier for them to deal with the real tech issues on hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as I've worked with clients through these transitions, the antidote to that problem is even when you're going to let people go. I've seen people handle that really well, but the leadership is clear about it. They say, listen, this is what's going to happen. This is the part that's going to be affected. Here's our timeline. We're going to offer you a great severance package. Like, when people have all the information, then you can get them on board. They understand what's going on. But most of the time, I would say in most of the industries, at least where I work, you end up being able to repurpose these people in other positions. As you grow, it's way cheaper to repurpose an existing employee in a lot of cases than having to hire new ones. And so there's usually a plan that management has, and it just doesn't get communicated, which is where the, oh crap, my job's going to be gone comes from. And it's self-preservation. So on management to set that clear vision and set honest and upfront expectations with the team so that doesn't become.
One more thing I wanted to add on that. He mentioned with the IT departments and all these corporations, they absolutely love it. And the reason being the amount of endpoints that they have to go update for the software constantly to keep up current with the systems, or even the network congestion on the corporate network, communicating with all those end-of-line devices or endpoints. You're eliminating all that, so you're freeing up critical resources at the company by bringing all this to the cloud. And it's all around, it's like they said, it's taken off very quick. It's just the corporate world and a lot of bigger companies that are just having a hard time grasping the concept at this point. But we're seeing it really push. For example, with us in the past 8 months, we've had tremendous growth with bringing everyone to the cloud.
Here's one last topic that we would like to discuss about before we could get into the Q&A. Especially I would want Kyle and Abid to contribute to this point because it's your expertise on this particular industry. Is subscription model making the business future ready, or is there any other model that could disrupt this?
I think, I don't know about is there another model that can disrupt this. I certainly think that the subscription model is setting up a lot of people for a lot of success in the future. Certainly it allows companies to be agile, very, very agile. You can switch the services you're offering, you can add values as you're going, and there's all kinds of benefits to that. I think, the internal aspect of that as well is like if you treat your employees as your customers, you fundamentally also want to add value for them. And so, if the job is becoming easier for you because there's fewer endpoints to manage, that's a great way to sell that internally. Because, okay, so I can focus on the real problems instead of, I hate doing Windows updates, and I know they've automated it, but even just that simple 5-10 minute thing that ends up taking an hour and a half, thank you, Windows 10, it just makes it difficult. So if there's an easier way to go about that, and the subscription model helps achieve that, it keeps you agile, it keeps you driving yourself to add additional value internally and externally as well. If your client's going to fundamentally leave you month over month, you have to give value to them, and they have to be getting value out of the service. And same way internally, if the services you're bringing in, the tools you're providing to your staff, whether it's on a subscription model or not, but if they're not getting value out of it, all you've done is just increase their workload. There's nothing to drive them to kind of almost be the internal champion, right? So your sysdev team lead might just tell his staff or his team members, like, the old way actually is a little bit easier for us, let's just stick to doing that. And right away you fractured your transition into the subscription model. So yes, I think it's setting up a lot of companies for success in the future. I think the ones that have a clear vision about the value that they want to deliver from it, are the ones that are going to be ahead of the game, or certainly they're already in the game now. And I think the innovative piece is kind of really what drives everybody. Internally at least. I know for us, innovation is a core piece of what we do. Everything we do, we want to make sure there's value coming out of it. But that subscription model, having access to it and also providing it to our clients, allows us to be very, very, very innovative in a very, very agile manner. But again, there needs to be that thought-out vision and that thought-out plan about how you're going to make this work, what you're going to offer, and how you're going to roll it out internally. So if people are getting upset because they don't know that they have a job still, and because the leadership hasn't done a good enough job of communicating it, that's a fundamental flaw in the plan. And that's way up front. That's well before execution. So you got to have these things in place early so that you can get that ball rolling, so that you can deliver value to all of your clients, internal and external.
See, I personally don't think that there's anything in the future or anything near future that would be replacing the cloud technology system as a service. And the reason I say that is there's not, from my background in programming and equipment engineering, I don't really see any types of other technology that's going to be able to capture all of these technologies and allow them to play nice. So for example, I bring to the cloud one of the main advantages that corporations would have is, the last speaker was mentioning single sign-on in Azure, so our on-prem Exchange servers. So the on-prem Exchange server actually takes quite a bit of work to updates and management. So when they're at Azure or the Office 365 Azure AD, they're able to do single sign-on across all systems, and that's part of what Microsoft is moving towards. And I don't think Microsoft has anything in plans or even in the future to change in a different direction or a different technology. So this technology is the new best thing. I strongly believe so. And one of the main things is you shouldn't have to worry about your customers leaving you if you're doing it right. If you're nailing it out of the park, your customers won't even think twice about giving you the costs associated with that service. So as long as you're continually innovating and giving your customers the newest, the greatest, and the best, I think that's a win-win for everyone.
And just to kind of add on to that and to what Roger was saying, I think the last piece of that is the customer experience, that it needs to be as smooth and easy for them to interact with you and use your services as possible, because again, you're creating value, they're getting value out of the service, but anytime they have an issue and they need it resolved now, and you're not available now, or you're not available in the right way, that's a mark against you, and most likely that person's going to be walking away.
Salesforce every year on their earnings call, before they've even started selling for the next next year tells investors we have X percentage of that revenue already covered through renewal revenue, and it's always something astronomical, like 80 or 90%. It's huge. How much easier is it to innovate when you already know what your budget is for next year? You're not projecting on probabilistic forecasts. You know that money's coming in. It's already signed and renewed. That commitment from your customers allows you to commit back to them in a more meaningful way.
All right, with that, I think we'll move to the Q&A session. Do we have anybody who have any questions for us?
Yeah, so thank you. Great coverage of the topic. But just for context, I've been involved in SaaS business models before the acronym was invented, and been a big advocate of it. At the end of the year, I was doing a customer focus group. This is in the consumer space. It was the first time that I had heard customers express what I can only describe as subscription fatigue. They didn't want another thing on their credit card bill every month, that reminder that they're paying for this service. So I just kind of wanted to triangulate. Have you also seen some of this show up in the customer bases? And is there maybe opportunities to actually carve a niche where you're not going to go with the crowd and not do a subscription model?
There's certainly a case to be made for certain services to be on site. I know the subscription fatigue you're talking about. I personally deal with it inside our organization. But at the end of the day, that also kind of creates room for innovation. And I know the problem for us is internal, or the problem for me is internal, but that kind of drives me to maybe create some kind of an aggregated site that allows me to manage my subscriptions and tokenize them in a very, very simple way. And so, again, internally, what you're talking about is innovating new tools and actually trying to solve the problem instead of doing Windows updates and doing license refreshes and stuff like that. When you're facing, I think, the external side of things, there's certainly fatigue there. And again, I think there's even there's a couple of gentlemen in the room across over here that are doing some great aggregating stuff, specifically on the blockchain side of things. And I'm heavily into the crypto space, and I know between all the exchanges plus my hardware keys and everything else, there's at least 20 different logins that I have. And so what we're starting to see now is these people that are coming up and saying, I have this same problem, and if I have this problem, other people have this problem. Let's see if we can get a solution together and try and resolve it. I don't think it's happening fast enough, though. I just don't think it's spread out wide enough, and I think people are jumping in where where technology is kind of top of mind. So blockchain, for example, cryptocurrency has been in people's minds for the last at least 2-3 years, the ones that came on late. But it's kind of there in the space, and so you're starting to see solutions pop up for the challenges in that space. And Microsoft has done the same thing with single sign-on. They've got a multitude of services that you can use, and it makes no sense to have to sign into each one separately with a different user login. So it would be great, I think, from an industry perspective, to see that aggregator type of solution come out that's cross-industry and cross-platform and helps you manage everything at once. So if anyone's out here is a developer, I think we're talking.
I would just add that in the B2B space where I've seen this, and it's certainly real, I think it's, again, understanding the difference between the fatigue is with the billing. So it's really with the mechanics of how they get billed. And I think that's tied very much to value-based pricing, in that most of these providers offer more value than the customers need. So if I buy Salesforce, I work with customers, that's the area that I specialize in. All my customers are Salesforce users. None of them can use even probably 75% of what's available to them, but it's priced for all the features. And then when I have to also go and get exactly for my commissions, and then I have to get another service for, maybe I start using SalesLoft. So I need these various things that give me the outcome, and I like that I can get them all in cart and in these subscriptions, but I'm not using full value on any of them. And so what I suspect, if I had to predict, is that increasingly the value-based pricing will get smaller and smaller, and there will be more leveraging of sort of microservices within these products, so that people can pick and choose their features and integrate them together to a more cohesive package with a certain friction point in the scene.
Just to add something to what Spencer said, and just to answer your question further in detail. yes, customers do not like too many transactions on their credit card with regards to subscription, but they are also happy with the fact that an application that they could probably pay a one-time fee of around $10,000 or whatever the cost is, they're getting it as low as just $15. So they are kind of really more happy about the fact that there are, multiple transactions of lower value, but the kind of the value that they get for the product that they're purchasing, that's something that the customers do not have a problem with.
And I'll add on that too, that's so very true when it comes to it. They don't necessarily see the big picture on how much they're going to save in the long run. For example, like he mentioned, people don't realize what's all in the back end. That's all you see is a monthly fee logging in. There's literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment and technology in the back end that, like you said, you're investing $15, $30 a month in to get access to those services and that equipment. So instead of you having a credit card charge for $50,000 and it's antiquated in 2 years, you're paying $15, $30 a month to have the most latest, greatest software.
Any more questions?
I have a quick question about subscription models with online courses. I see this huge trend right now. Part of my company, we do education technology training, and we're building our own courses, and I'm trying to move that into a subscription model eventually. How do you see that playing out now? You've got Linda and Facebook Blueprint certification now. You really see a lot of these big Fortune 500 companies creating their own online courses. How do you see people standing out there or evolving subscription models with those courses?
Yeah, I have experience in that over the last couple of years. The company I worked for was doing that exact thing. And the reason we went to that model was due to the fact that our customers were requesting, I want more than just...
I'd actually like to welcome back to the stage Tom Gao. Now, she was one of our award winners from the last section of Top 50 Industry Leaders, and she's going to talk to us a little bit today. So please help me in welcoming Tom Gao.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely honored to be standing here and receiving the award for the Top 50 Tech Visionaries. I'm sincerely grateful for the recognition from the InterCon committee. Thank InterCon for bringing people together from different tech areas and give us the opportunity to share ideas. My company is serving the blockchain industry. The blockchain industry is still at a very early stage of development. And still facing a lot of challenges. So I want to pay a tribute to all those working hard in this industry to make things happen. Finally, I want to express my gratitude to my family, my partners, my investors, and all those who work with me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. All right, let's welcome our panel. In this segment, our industry experts are going to discuss how the subscription model can inspire innovation in stagnant industries. Here to introduce our panel, I would like to introduce the CEO and founder of DomainzGuru, Mr. Thomson Thomas, and the panel. Let's welcome them, shall we?
Hello, everybody. Like she said, my name is Thomson Thomas, and I'm the CEO and founder of DomainzGuru. I'll quickly go ahead and introduce my team here on the panel. So we have Spencer Lowe, who's the owner of Salt Consulting, and Abid Shah, who's the co-founder and president of Cryptech Labs. Roger Furman, independent sales and marketing consultant. And then we have Eric Fawcett. He's the partner and senior vice president at Acuna Consulting. And then we have Kyle Nicolazzi. He's the director of security integrations. So, just a couple of questions here. Okay, Okay, so we start with the first topic, and that's going to be, what are the reasons for the rise of subscription model?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in and start with that. I mean, I think ultimately, especially in the context of this discussion around stagnant industries, the number one reason is growth. Companies that leverage a subscription model outpace the S&P 500 in growth by 9 times. And so that's the primary reason, I think, financially, as companies are looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, why should I move to a subscription model? There's huge financial and growth incentives. The second big piece is the cultural shift that comes with that, moving away from a product-centric environment where you're focused on features and then those are being distributed through channels where you're maybe obfuscating the relationship with the customer. We don't understand the customer as well because there's that layer of separation. In the subscription environment, we're seeing much better feedback from the customer and a cultural shift around experiences, the customer experience, providing value to them, as opposed to needing to have ownership over just a product. So I think that's probably the biggest reason in my mind that we're seeing more and more companies over there.
Yeah, and I'll add to it as well. Part of it is the customer experience too. You can engage more with your customers to learn more about the challenges they have, the challenges they have now, but also in the future. By doing that, it helps with product development, more customer interaction, and just overall provides a great service.
I think to kind of reiterate on some of the points mentioned over here is we're seeing that customers and users no longer interested in quote-unquote owning something, right? I think besides owning your house, not many other things have as much value in terms of ownership, right? Folks and individuals and customers and users and consumers are interested in accessing value, right? And if you see the challenge when you own something, right? I'm pretty sure we all bought something in the past, and 3 months later we're seeing, oh man, the next version came out, but I've already spent $300, $400 on the first version. Am I going to really spend another $300, $400 on the next version? So I would rather spend a consistent amount of money every single month, a low fee, and the benefit of that is I'm going to have access to value over time. As that value increases and gets better, I have access to it. I think number two, we're seeing over here is just, I think the point I mentioned in point number one. I think consumers and users are interested in spending less at once, right? I think psychologically, just you take a look, $300 versus $15 a month, which one would make more sense? And I think lastly, we're seeing that we're moving away. It's not about customer acquisition anymore, it's about customer retention, right? How do we retain customers? And I think with the subscription model, what we're able to get out of this is businesses are able to understand, as Sean was talking about, hey, you know what, we understand what users want. We understand the culture of users, right?